Welcome into the Detroit Lions post-game show. I'm Tori Petry, joined here on set by Anthony Bellino. Anthony, this was a disappointing game for the Lions in Green Bay. A tough loss. We talked about a tough loss last week when the Lions lost in the last minutes of the game against their first opponent in Week 1, and Week 2 didn't go too much better for them.
You know, maybe when it comes to heartbreak, Week 1 against Chicago, maybe a little more heartbreaking. This one, you could kind of get a feel for the way that the pendulum was swinging there right in the second quarter. And this Lions team that started off so promising, as we take a look at the team comparison with statistics, it was so neck and neck, drive for drive through the first 4 drives, and there was that feeling, at least via the internet, that, hey, look at this Lions offense, be able to move the football. Kerryon Johnson, Matthew Stafford, things are looking up. Everything was going well, and then all of a sudden, right there at the end of the first half, you could start to feel that momentum had shifted a bit.
Yeah, that team comparison spoke volumes when you look at those statistics there. The rushing statistics, to me, were the key ones. The Lions only 89 rushing yards. The Packers 259 rushing yards. The last time the Lions allowed a team to have that many rushing yards on them was in 2011 in Week 14 against Minnesota. They gave up 269 rushing yards. That's a long time ago, and that was a struggle for them today.
You know, and no matter how NFL football or football in general changes, it always comes down to really 2 things. 1, can you run the football? And 2, can you stop the run? And the Lions defense today just was not able to do it. And it just kind of seemed to almost snowball once Jones got loose a couple times, and that was really it. And it was the fact that, hey, not only was Green Bay's offensive line blocking well, but the Detroit defenders struggling to get off of blocks, filling the same gap with multiple guys. It was, just collectively just was not a great outing from the defensive side of the football there when you talk about trying to be able to stop the run.
Definitely. We came into this game talking a whole lot about Aaron Rodgers and the way that they put up 43 points on the Vikings last week and how good Aaron Rodgers was in that game. But today it was the run game that shined. Aaron Jones had that 75-yard touchdown first play coming out of halftime. That really was key for the Packers today, was that run game. Anthony, you gave a pretty interesting statistic before the pregame show even started, just about the comparison between Aaron Rodgers' passing game and the run game today.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have said out loud to you, to me, to anybody who watches Lions football, like, hey, wait a minute now, the Lions will they will hold Aaron Rodgers to less yards passing than they would the Packers rushing, you would say, well, 9 out of 10 times they're going to win that football game. There's just no way the Packers are going to rush for more than Aaron Rodgers is going to throw for. And that's exactly what happened. Rodgers finishes 18 of 30 for 229 yards and 2 scores. Pretty easy day for him for the most part when you could turn around and get the production that he was able to get out of his ground game. And that makes things defensively a whole lot more difficult. When you talk about, okay, running the ball and stopping the run, it does 2 things for you. When you can run the ball effectively, you can keep the defense on their heels. You can keep them guessing from play to play. You can mix in play action, which makes everything that much more difficult to defend. And when you're on the defensive side of the football, if you can't stop the run, you have no idea what is coming up next. And it makes situational football very, very difficult. It also helps for Green Bay when you can run the football to be able to play complementary football. When you can run, you should be able to pass. When you can pass, it should be able to open up the run. Green Bay did both effectively today on the offensive side of the football.
Well, it definitely helped Green Bay that the Lions were not able to get pressure on them. Just 1 sack from the Lions. Just a tough game for this team up front. Weren't able to get pressure, weren't able to stop the run. And when you can't do either of those things, it's tough to win.
And you and Tim and you and Mike in the pregame show, I mean, it was all about pressure.
We hammered that home. It's all about the pressure.
It is. Can you get to the quarterback? Can you do it effectively? And can you do it without having to send a blitz? Can you do it with just 4? Can you do it with just 5 without having to send extra guys, from either your linebacking core or your secondary? And the Lions just were not able to do it once again. They have to try to figure out some sort of way that they'll be able to dial in some pressure no matter where it comes from. Jamie Collins did have that one big sack that stymied a drive from Green Bay. I think he dropped Aaron for close to a 10-yard loss on that sack. So he was very active. It was good to see him out there, but at the same time, collectively as a group, just couldn't get it done.
Well, it was good to see him considering the Lions did not have him for much of the game last week because of that ejection. So good to see him out on the field there, but still a tough day for this Lions team. The big thing we've seen from these Lions is their struggle to compete and they get down. They had so many unanswered points in this game. The Lions had 28 unanswered points halfway through the third quarter. 28 unanswered points. That is a tough position to be in, and that's really where we saw them struggle today.
You know, you end the first quarter, you're up 14-3, and you're feeling really good about things, right? And then all of a sudden, between the second and the third quarter, Green Bay, you know, they shut you out both quarters. They go up 14-0 in the second frame, 17-0 there in the third quarter, and there was just no response whatsoever. And when you have shorter drives, when you're 3 and out, you're keeping your defense on the field. If like Green Bay was able to establish some decently long drives, you know, outside of the one big run of 75 yards by Jones, they had drives of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. You're keeping the defense on the field. Your offense comes out. It's a quick 3 and out. Defense has to come right back on the field. So it makes it a challenge just across the board if your offense isn't able to move the football. I would have loved to have been able to get on the headset with Green Bay to see what they talked about defensively on how to stop Matthew Stafford in this offense. It looked like they could pick and choose their spots throughout the entire first quarter. The first 2 drives were magical. What happened after that? Not so much, but I would love to know exactly what Green Bay keyed on, what was their focus point, and what was the change that they needed to make during that game that was able to allow their defense to really set the tone.
Yeah, we're looking at Matthew Stafford's stats here, 20 for 33, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also threw a pick 6 in this game. That was a tough moment for the Lions. For me, though, it really comes down to that halftime swing. It came down to those penalties that were foolish penalties the Lions did not need to make before halftime there, and that really hurt them as they head into the half. Of course, they had that missed field goal just before the half, but it came down to the penalties that gave up that touchdown before they got the ball back before the half, and then you come right out of halftime with a 75-yard touchdown run, and that halftime swing is what really changed the game, Anthony.
Yeah, I would go to the Lions. What was it? Second to last possession there in the first half. Abushi gets called for a personal foul. They throw the flag. It stalls the drive at midfield. You're forced to punt. The very next possession, Green Bay comes down. There's 2 personal foul penalties. One for, I want to say, was it
unnecessary roughness and then horse collar. Both of them were on safety Will Harris. So
Green Bay starts that drive at like their own 24-yard line, and then all of a sudden ended up at the 38 in scoring range. So you look at those 2 penalties from Will Harris. You look at Abushi's his personal foul there that forced the punt. You mentioned it. Green Bay scores. Detroit with a chance. They miss a field goal. It was a long field goal, missed wide right by Matt Prater in the 50-plus yard range again, and just a very difficult way. And then you open up the second half, and here comes Green Bay turning and burning. They get the ball first. They come right out and score that touchdown on that one play, 75-yard scamper by Jones, and it was like, okay, well, now is your time. If you're either going to hit the brakes on Green Bay right now or it's going to get out of hand, and it unfortunately went the other way.
Yeah, it's hard to win a game when you get down by that much. All right, let's try and look at some of the things that the Lions can take away from this game that maybe went well. For me, one of those things was watching this running back by committee approach. We saw good things from each of the Lions' 3 running backs. We saw a 25-yard run from Adrian Peterson. We saw Deandre Swift catch several passes out of the backfield. I believe he caught 5 passes for 60 yards out of the backfield. And then you had Kerryon Johnson's touchdown drive. You're looking at a comparison between Adrian Peterson and Kerryon Johnson right now and their yards today. Obviously, it wasn't a great day in the run game, but we did see flashes of what they can be.
Yeah, Kerryon, that first drive, I think you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, he was fantastic. You mentioned the big gain on the right side from Adrian Peterson. It felt like we haven't seen a run like that in quite some time. And then Deandre Swift getting right back into getting some targets for Matthew Stafford after the big drop in week 1. Stafford going right back to him, showing the confidence in him, getting him over maybe that mental hurdle from what he went through last Sunday at home against Chicago. Then this week in Green Bay, it's exactly the way they drafted him in the second round because of his ability to catch the football out of the backfield. Running back by committee was fantastic, but when you start to get down, start to kind of eliminate your ability to be able to run the football because now you're not only working against the other team, you're working against the clock as well.
Yeah, we didn't get to see as much from the running backs in the second half of that game, but I did like the things that we did see from them early on. We also saw a touchdown catch from Marvin Jones Jr. and a touchdown catch from Marvin Hall. What else did you see that you liked in this game?
Well, I like I'm going to go right back to the first two drives because I don't know how anybody would not like what you saw to the first two drives. But I like the way that the offense kind of really set the tone. They did so at the line of scrimmage. They were able to open up some running lanes. So when looking back at this game, that's where I would really focus at because at some point you have to be able to say, okay, well, we kind of identified where things took maybe a turn for the worse there at the end of the first half. But what did you do right on those first two drives? Take a look back, see how Green Bay countered that, and then why were you not able to be successful from there moving forward. I think that's really, kind of the key to moving into week 3.
All right, a couple of young guys that we saw some good things from. Punter Jack Fox, he had a nice day. Now, you don't want to have a game where your punter is your best player, but I do think that the Lions have found themselves a great punter there in Jack Fox in his second year. And then you also had Quintez Cephas, who had a nice 36-yard catch there near the end of the game. That's the rookie wide receiver. So you've seen a couple of good things from young guys. Usually we don't start to talk about that until we get late in the season, like we did last year with a lot of injuries. We saw young guys getting in there. Unfortunately, we are having those conversations right here in week 2, but we are trying to look at a couple of positives, and I thought that Jack Fox and Quintez Cephas showed us a few things.
Yeah, Quintez, you can tell the relationship between he and Matthew Stafford is very, very good. You can also tell that, Matthew Stafford's got a lot of trust in that young man, and he can make plays. Now, special teams have to be special. We focus a lot on the offense because of, I think it's the fantasy football effect, right? We want the yards, we want the touchdowns, we want the fantasy numbers, but your defense has to be good. And your special teams have to be special. That's just, it's the part of the reason why they're called that, right? When you talk about Fox being able to flip the football field, once again, the term complementary football. If the offense stalls out, your punter has to give your defense an opportunity to have a little bit of field to work with and be able to put the other team in some tight spots when it comes to field position. And Fox does just that. So a really bright future for him.
We also saw some good things from TJ Hawkinson. Once again, we talked about him last week. We talked about him on the pregame show. Last week, he had somewhere around 5 catches for 56 yards or so. Today, 4 receptions for 62 yards. I believe he's caught every pass that has come his way. So TJ Hawkinson is a highlight of this offense. He's averaging 15 and a half yards per catch. So TJ really has been a key target for Matthew Stafford. It's hard to sift through these tough losses that the Lions have had these last couple weeks, but TJ Hawkinson has played well.
Oh, absolutely, and you're right. 100% on targets to receptions. 9 targets, 9 receptions on the season. He's been good. He's been sure-handed, and it's really been nice for Matthew Stafford to kind of have that reliable tight end that he maybe necessarily hasn't had in his time here. So it's been good to be able to have that and be able to establish that relationship with TJ. And then you look back at last year in week number 1 against Arizona. The output that he had was phenomenal, okay? And then everything kind of took it slowed down, I will say it that way. But this year, a little more consistent, right? Through 2 games, just about the same amount of catches, same amount of yards. We'd like to see him get some red zone targets. I thought it was going to be a good pick, and Tim Twentyman said in the pregame show we're going to get a red zone touchdown out of TJ. We didn't get it yet today, but hopefully we'll see it soon.
Absolutely. Jeff Okudah got his first start today. We did get to see the rookie cornerback. He was kind of thrown into the fire there up against Aaron Rodgers and this Green Bay offense. He had 7 tackles, was not able to come up with any pass defenses or interceptions, but that's kind of to be expected when your first NFL game is up against Aaron Rodgers and an offense that is just cruising. So this was a really good learning experience for Okudah.
Oh, very much so, and I think that when you put Jeff Okudah out there, as Tim had once again mentioned, in the pregame show, that the ones are the ones for the reason, and the 6 is the 6 for a reason, right? And Jeffrey Okudah's coming in where you have Desmond Trufant not in the game, Justin Coleman, and not active either, and you really put young guys in a tough spot against the Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. There's going to be some bumps in the road. There's going to be a lot of learning on the fly. But that's okay. I think all in all, the performance, I'm sure he's going to be pretty hard on himself. I'm sure that, when they go back and watch the tape, he'll find some things that he'll want to correct and get fixed. But when you really look at it, I don't think that there weren't the glaring statistical numbers from Aaron Rodgers that I guess you would come to expect from him. And I think that's a good sign for the secondary.
Certainly. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us here on the pregame show. We're going to head to break, but in a little bit we will be back with Lions legend Lomas Brown joining us here on set. Don't go away.
When it comes to buying a home, they say cash is king. But you're a queen, and that's just as powerful. You're armed with a verified approval from Rocket Mortgage. Sellers know your offer is good, so your bid has the strength to compete with cash offers. Now grab your crown and rule. That castle is yours. So when you need an edge in the bidding war, Rocket can.
The game doesn't end after a spectacular touchdown grab because there's always another team looking to punch one in. With NFL Red Zone from NFL Network on Xfinity, you get every touchdown from every game on Sunday afternoons, all season long. Watch every breakout star, every heart-pounding running attack, and every big-time defensive stop. Sundays were made for football on Xfinity. That's simple, easy, awesome.
Experience NFL Red Zone from NFL Network on Xfinity. Click, call, or visit today.
Welcome back into the Detroit Lions post-game show. I'm Tori Petry, now joined on set by Lions legend and WJR analyst Lomas Brown. Lomas, thank you so much for joining us on set. This is a tough game to talk about.
Trying to smile through the pain, Tori.
It certainly was a tough game to watch. Lomas, what do you feel like went wrong?
I mean, you know, we started off well. We were in the game, especially in the first half, and then the ugly thing like penalties started killing us. And they were self-inflicted wounds, Tori, penalties that were unnecessary. And to me, once you start having these penalties, once that started happening, then it just takes a whole nother life of its own. And to me, the team just can't overcome things like that. You're playing a great team like Green Bay that went 13-3 last year. And then you go to Lambeau, you go up to Lambeau and you start having all these penalties. You just can't give a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers or a team like that second chances. And I think we did that, especially in the penalty department.
Yeah, definitely. You're looking at the team comparison again here. The Lions had 307 total yards, 488 for the Green Bay Packers. Those rushing yards, though, is where the comparison is so evident, as well as the time of possession. 34 minutes, almost 35, compared to the Lions, only 25 minutes. That can really change a game. Yeah,
and Tori, you could kind of time of possession and rushing, you could kind of marry those two together.
Absolutely.
Because guys start getting tired. That's the thing that I notice about our D linemen, especially in the second half of games. They don't come off the blocks like they need to come off the blocks, and then it enables the running backs from other teams to find creases, and once they hit those creases, they're gone. Once they could get to the second level of our defense, then they're pretty much gone. So to me, that's a problem that has to be addressed now, because you're going up against an Arizona team that not only do they have a good running back, but their quarterback is a runner. So you're going to face the same thing. So it's something that they're going to have to work on immediately.
Another area where they struggled was getting pressure on the quarterback, not only stopping the run, but they just couldn't get pressure on Aaron Rodgers. What was going wrong, Lomas?
I mean, the thing I keep saying, Tori, is that we rushed 4 guys. They got 5 linemen up there to block our 4 guys. You just look at the math right there. It's not going to get it done. So what do we have to do as the Lions? We have to start generating pressure. Well, how do you do that, Lomas? Well, you do that by showing them different looks. You walk guys up. You don't necessarily have to bring them, but you show them different looks. A guy like Aaron Rodgers, you need to get into your blitz package late. You don't want to give him that much time to sit back, dissect what you're getting ready to do, because he will do that. He's a veteran player. So to me, one, we're going to have to disguise more of our blitzes that we want to have to do, but we're going to have to get quarterbacks thinking about us, and that means showing it but maybe not coming.
We at least saw one good sack from Jamie Collins Sr.
Yes.
That was good to see. What did you see on that play?
I love that play, and it was a nice move by Jamie. He came over, he gave the guy an arm over and went back the opposite way on him. I love that, and I listened to Jamie's interview during this week, and he wanted to make up for what happened the first week by getting ejected. So I knew he would be out there, and he would be an active guy out there because he wanted to make up for what happened last week. And it's always good to have guys out there that knows Coach Patricia's defensive scheme, knows everything about it, knows how to line guys up and get them ready to play. So it was good having, like I like to call him, another coordinator out on the field.
Well, I thought one underrated player that the Lions were missing this week was Nick Williams. He played 63% of snaps last week, I believe, against the Bears. That's second on the defensive line, only to Trey Flowers. So the Lions certainly were missing having Nick Williams out there. Obviously, he was moved to being an out designation on Saturday with his injury this week, and he was not in this game. The Lions struggled to get pressure, and he is one of the key members, the key starters on that defensive line, and I think that they missed having him.
And this middle pressure, Tori, Trey Flowers, he did a nice job. Romeo sometimes did a nice job of outside pressure, but Aaron was able to step up in the middle, and that's where, like you're saying, a Nick Williams, he would have been there. Danny Shelton. Those guys got to continue to push the pocket so the quarterback doesn't have anywhere to step up at. And that's what didn't happen today to Aaron Rodgers.
All right, let's look at the offense. What did you see from the Lions offense in this game that they could have done better?
Well, I mean, again, I thought the offensive line started off well towards the end of the game because it became obvious that we were going to have to basically throw the ball the rest of the game. They started getting a little pressure on us. But I thought for the first maybe 3 quarters of the game, I thought the O-line did a nice job. I thought they did a nice job in the run game. I think the thing that we need to see a lot more out of, and you pointed out a little earlier, more T.J. Hawkinson. I think he could be a real weapon for us. Again, he got 4 or 5 catches today. He had 4 or 5 last weekend. So let's just kind of keep using that guy because, again, that's the safety blanket for a quarterback.
Listen, this show, the pregame and postgame show, we are the T.J. Hawkinson hype train. We have been talking T.J. Hawkinson. Obviously, these last 2 games, tough games for the Lions, so have to look for the bright spots. But T.J. has been a bright spot in both of them.
He really has been, and the run game too, Tori. If you look at the run game, Adrian Peterson last week, you know, you had Kerryon Johnson getting his first touchdown this week. So the running game, that needs to keep coming along. And again, it's going to depend on the big guys up front. And those young guys on the right-hand side of the line, I'm proud of those guys. They've been doing all right over there, especially be a rookie and a backup. They've been doing all right. So hopefully we could keep that going because the more runs that we get in, the more Matthew Stafford will be able to use the play-action pass and more of his playbook, too.
Absolutely. You're looking at the running back comparison between Kerryon Johnson and Adrian Peterson in this game. Both of them had solid games, 8 carries for 32 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown drive was a great drive from Kerryon Johnson. We also saw a 25-yard run from Adrian Peterson. More magic from him that we saw last week against the Bears. But you mentioned the line that is blocking for him. That line was missing 2 starters today. They were missing Joe Dahl on the left side, who has gone to IR. Halapula Vadi Vaitai was inactive today. So they were missing 2 guys up front, and they still blocked well for the run game.
They did. I mean, I have no complaints about the big guys. They've been doing a pretty good job up front. Again, Coach Bevell, I think he calls a very good offensive game plan. He has a very good offensive game plan that he runs. But those guys, they've been doing well up front. Matthews had time to look downfield. Again, they've been opening up holes for the running back. So if they could just keep doing it and just keep doing it on a consistent basis, that's one bright spot that could help the team start to get well.
One other thing that I liked was Deandre Swift catching the ball out of the backfield. He had a tough week last week in terms of catches. Obviously, we all saw that dropped touchdown catch from him, which was unfortunate to watch. But one of the things I said in postgame is that the next week, the Lions have got to get the ball in his hands, let him know that they trust him still, that they still trust him to catch the ball, and that's what they did today. He had 5 catches for 60 yards in this game, and it was nice to see him have a little bit of a rebound week.
It really was. Matthew told him after last game that, hey, I'm going to keep coming to you. I trust you. You're going to be a great weapon for us. Not only did he tell him that last week, Matthew came out this week and proved it to him by getting the ball to him. And Deandre, you could tell he's going to be a weapon for us, Tori. Just hate what happened to him last week, but he's going to be an effective weapon for us going forward.
Let's talk about Matthew Stafford at the quarterback position. Unfortunately, he had a pick six today. He had a tough interception at the end of that game last week. So he has had some moments in these last couple of games where he has not made great decisions with the football. I'm sure he would be the first one to tell you that. What did you make of Matthew Stafford's play today?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that pick six, you're right. It was a lot of pressure on Matthew. Matthew probably should have ate the ball in that situation, but like you say, he threw it, and they were right on top of it. They got the pick six out of it. And things like that, I think what Matthew has to understand is that those are big momentum killers. They really are, especially when you turn the ball over like that. Yeah, it was a crucial situation last week, and it was a crucial situation this week that turned out to be 6 points for them. So it just stops the momentum. When you have momentum, it's just such a bad momentum breaker. So you don't want things to happen like that. And I do think Matthew's going to continue to get better. Again, Tori, no all season. You know, hadn't been able to get with the receivers. You got new pieces at the receiver position. So I think it's all just a work in progress, and I think he'll get better as the season goes along.
All right, Matt Patricia is at the podium to talk about what this game meant for his team and what he saw that went wrong. So let's take a look at what Matt Patricia had to say.
Okay. All right. We can get going here if you guys can hear me okay. I mean, obviously, very disappointing game on our end. Give the Packers credit. They did a great job of capitalizing on the situations out there to take advantage of the game, and we certainly did not. So we got a lot of work to do. We got to go back to work, and we got to, push forward. But obviously, not a very good game on our end.
Okay, Tim.
Matt, you mentioned how disappointing it was. Just from a rushing defense perspective to start this season, 159 yards last week, and obviously a big game for them this week. How disappointing is that aspect of it? Because obviously you know how crucial that is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we got a lot of work to do, and we got to be consistent in what we're doing, and we got to get it coached up better and understand the techniques and improve it all the way around. It's early in the year, but it's still got to be good. We got to do a better job in what we're doing right now, and especially come out to start the second half. Those plays can happen when you got a dangerous back like that, but we need to do a better job being ready to go.
Justin.
Hey, Matt, going beyond just even the last 5 quarters, going back your entire time here, what is your confidence in the defensive scheme at this point?
Obviously, you play a game like this today, it's a bad game, and it's not good enough, and we're trying to get better. We're trying to do better. And, I think our scheme has been really multiple. We've tried to just do whatever the best we could to fit the guys that we have to play at a high level. And certainly, there's a lot of teaching and technique and fundamental work that's involved with that. And, in the end, we just obviously it's just got to improve.
We know the injury situation. I think we all understand that. But do you have the personnel to execute what you need to get done right now?
Yeah, I mean, I got all the confidence in the world in these guys. We just got to go out and do it. We got to stop, doing things that hurt our team and hurt us, and just make sure that we're, trying to, execute at a high level, coach and play well.
Thank you, Matt.
Dave.
Matt, back to the running game for a sec. What did go wrong on that 75-yard run?
We had, I would say, a couple bad fundamentals, a little bit of a space in there, maybe a missed angle towards the play that was not good enough from that standpoint.
Stafford played so well at times last year. He's made some uncharacteristic mistakes here the last 2 weeks. He had a bad sack again today. I think is he trying to do too much, or what do you attribute those mistakes to, I guess?
Obviously it's a team game. I think everybody on the field's got to play better, and certainly, he's the guy that's got the ball and may look, in his world of what's going on, but there's other things that are happening that, influence the plays too. And, we just got to execute better all the way across the board.
And can I get your just evaluation on Jeff Okudah, first game, first start?
Obviously, we'll go back and look at it. I don't think anybody on the field did well enough. I think all of us coaches and players got to do better.
All right. Thank you.
Mike.
Yeah. Hey, Matt. The last 4 games, you've now lost double-digit leads. Why do you think your team gets up early and then can't finish, can't hold on to leads?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously we're doing a good job starting fast. I think that's, something that's happening for our team, and that's a good thing. I think we got to use that momentum, and we got to keep it going. Certainly in a year that's a little bit unusual, but that energy, that focus, all of it, it's just got to come through for 60 minutes. We can't ride the wave of the game. We can't go up and down and be, really high, and then something happens and then go really low and then try to pick it back up, and then something good happens and go really high again, and just the ebbs and flows of the game. We've got to ignore that. We've got to stay consistent. We've got to not think about the end result before we get to the end result. We got to think about that play at that moment and stay in that moment, and that's something we have to do.
And after 11 straight losses, what's your confidence level in your ability at this point to turn this around?
Obviously, for us right now, it's the 2020 season. We've got 2 losses in a row. I think that's where we're at, and for us, it's a different team. We know we've got a long way to go. We got to improve, and we got to get better. That's really the bottom line. I think that I think the things that the guys are working on are trying, and coaching wise, we're trying to get better. And we understand that change happens every year, and we had a lot of change over last year, and it's our first time kind of going with everybody that we have from coaching and playing. So we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep getting our work and try to improve. But at this point, it's early, and we got to kind of just do everything we can to get it better.
And if I could slip one last one in. Yeah, another I don't want to say uncharacteristic. Yeah, another really crushing penalty for you after Jamie Collins last week with the O'Day kind of late kind of rolling out. Why is your team, you think, having those problems with maybe some after unnecessary roughness, personal foul, even Agnew's, decision to block after? Why is that happening, you think, over the last 2 weeks?
Obviously the penalties all the way across the board, all of them are no good. You get a penalty on 3rd down, that's not good either. All of them are things that we know we have to prevent. If you want to win, you got to eliminate the penalties. It's pretty simple. And those are things we got to be more disciplined with. And we got to understand that, when we play and the way that we play, still has to be within the rules, and we can't do anything that's outside of that, and we need to understand the officials and what they're looking at and the things that they're calling, and we just got to be smarter with it.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, time for 3 more. Greg, Kyle, and Mojo.
Hey, Coach, your DBs had a couple holding calls, stuff like that. How tough was it to be out with, 2 of your top corners today?
Obviously, we had a lot of confidence in the guys that were out there, but just like you said, you can't have those penalties, especially on 3rd down. You can't grab, you can't pull. They've got good players. They're going to, be able to get in some positions, and we got to be able to just stay with our fundamentals and not try to do something outside of that that's going to hurt us like a penalty.
Kyle?
Yeah. Hey, Matt. We talked a lot this week about the importance of getting the pass rush going, helping those young corners out. You had 0 QB hits in the first half, I believe, just a couple for the game. I guess what's the problems there in getting that thing going in the pass rush?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is he's a really difficult quarterback to pass rush against, and certainly we've got to do a better job of creating pressure and making sure that we're working towards the quarterback. I think he did a good job of getting rid of the ball, and I think there was a couple situations where we had some chances that we didn't finish, and then a couple situations where we got out of our lanes and we let him get out and scramble and extend the play, and that's not really good either. So, those guys they're trying to be in position and be disciplined with it, but he can really hurt you when you're not.
And with Julian Okwara, he didn't play today. What was the rationale there?
We just obviously trying to put everybody out on the field there that that we needed based on some of the injuries that we had and the positions that we needed for special teams and offense and defense, and sometimes that's just how the numbers work.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, last question, Mojo.
Matt, into your 3rd season now, the issues of composure and discipline keep resurfacing, i.e. penalties and interceptions or sacks at the wrong time. Why is that, do you think? Because you do have a lot of veteran players on this team, and quite frankly, is that coaching that this keeps resurfacing?
Obviously, we got to do a better job in those situations, and put it, on all of us, put it on me first, and then we got to coach it and we got to execute it better when they have those situations. We understand we can't have penalties. We got to keep our composure. We can't have turnovers. You know, and we gotta do everything we can to make sure we don't give up big plays. So, you know, it's just got to be all of us doing a better job.
Great. Thanks, Coach. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks.
You can't ride the wave of the game. That's what head coach Matt Patricia said when he was asked why his team is unable to overcome deficits. Lomas, how do you avoid riding the wave of the game and being down when the game is down and up when the game is up?
And that's a great point by Coach Tori, because it's always an ebb and flow in the game. It's going to every game you play in, it's going to be like that. And it's going to take the characters, the strong guys on the team to keep it like this, because you're going to have guys that get up and down. But you got to be one of those guys that stay level-headed, and you're able to keep the rest of the troops like that. This is a tough game. I mean, the NFL, it's a tough game, and you're going to have your highs and lows, but you can't. Coach is absolutely right. You got to stay this way during the course of those 60 minutes of a game.
One of those leaders this team depends on is Matthew Stafford. He came to the podium just a few moments ago to talk with the media after this loss in Green Bay. Here's what Matthew had to say.
Yeah. Hi, Matthew. First, it looked like you took a shot there at the end. How are you health-wise?
I feel good. I'll be fine.
And after 11 straight losses, now obviously you weren't part of playing a lot of them toward the end of last year. What's your confidence level in Matt Patricia at this point?
I'm confident. We got to go out and play better. That's the biggest thing. You know, we got to play better really in all three phases. If you look at it, we weren't good enough on offense, defense, or special teams. Packers played good. We didn't. And, you know, there were times in the game where we were executing well and times where we didn't. We just got to make sure we execute better, more consistently.
Thanks.
Dave?
Hey, Matt, just, I guess, point blank, why do you think this keeps happening to you guys? You know, get off to good starts, you know, something goes wrong, sometimes in a big
I can look at the tape on all of it. I mean, it boils down to make as many mistakes as we did and expect to beat a good football team.
This happened, you know, a few times last year too, where the offense would get off to a really good start with those scripts, and then it kind of peters out after that. Is there something that you guys are doing in that start that you're not able to do, that you're not able to replicate over the last three quarters?
Just executing, you know. I think our guys, we did a nice job today on the first couple drives of the game. You know, had a couple of penalties that derailed us late in the first half, and then second half just didn't start it, you know, good enough. And they started well, and we didn't. And you look up in the game's a 2-score game, and that's not how you want to play these guys with the pass rush that they have and the players they have on the back end. So we just got to do a better job of staying close and making the game, you know, more friendly for us. Obviously, down 21 points late in the fourth quarter. It's not a place you want to be.
And then last thing, just the pick six. Can you just explain what happened on that play?
Yeah, they brought the free safety off the slot, and so it was technically a hot for me. You know, I've got to feel 39 out there and just dirt it or try to slide around and find Marv. You know, obviously a huge play in the game that I can't make. I got to find a way to make sure that we're not giving up points there. If I have to throw an incompletion that looks horrible, or find a way to get around and just get the ball out, I've got to do that. So there's plays in this game I want back. There's no question about that.
Thank you.
Kyle?
Yeah, Matt, you guys keep expressing a lot of confidence in where things are going. You keep losing football games the same, you know, kind of the same way there at the end. Can you just describe for me the mood of the team at this point? I mean, you guys got the optimism, but you keep losing double-digit leads. Just where is the mood of this team at right now?
I mean, I think everybody's disappointed. Every time you lose, it's disappointing. We put a ton of work into it. You know, we're working our tails off, and it's not showing up on Sundays. That's not fun. It's not fun for us. We've got to do a better job of coming out on Sundays and playing better. Had good weeks of preparation, and then you know, for one reason or another, you know, haven't been able to get a win. So we got to make sure we do that. Obviously, a new challenge in front of us this week. That I know all the guys in our locker room. We got a bunch of great guys and veteran players that know how to lead, and you know, we'll come out with this week of practice and be grinding and doing everything we can to prepare to try and win a game.
How much does this offense miss Kenny right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a really good player. You know, we've got injuries in a lot of different spots all around our team, but that's the NFL, and sometimes that happens. We've got guys battling through, playing with stuff, and proud of those guys. But we gotta try and get healthy and get some of our guys back and go out there and be successful.
Appreciate it, Matt.
Okay, 2 more, Greg and then Woj. Greg, go ahead.
What do you think of Johnson running today? Obviously, AP got a lot of carries and stuff last week, but Johnson got, the bulk today. What do you think of how he did?
I thought he did a nice job. Karen did a really good job. Obviously, in the second half, we were kind of in a spot there where we weren't able to run the ball as much as we would have liked. I think early in the game, our guys up front did a great job controlling the line of scrimmage, and we ran the ball really successfully. And obviously, they kept me clean the majority of the game, until we're down 21 late in the game. That's every D lineman's, that's what they wish for at the beginning of the game. So I thought our offensive line played well, and I thought our backs, did a nice job when the ball was in their hands.
Okay, Wojo, last question.
Matthew, I know you'll say it's frustrating over the years, but as this piles up now in your 12th year, and who knows how many more opportunities there will be like this, the level of frustration, seeing the same things, especially the penalties and stuff like that, is that building inside of you now more than ever?
Obviously, I've been playing here for a long time, and I want to win. I think everybody in our locker room wants to win. I know they do. I know our whole organization does. So I'm just going to continue to try and put as much work as I possibly can into it, be as prepared as I can going into the games, and try and play at a high level. It's frustrating anytime you don't win. Nobody's more upset than I am about that. So I'm just going to try and do everything I know how to do to play better and score a bunch of points and win games.
Great. Thanks, Matthew. Thanks, guys.
Lomas, Matthew addressed some of the mistakes that he made in this game, particularly that pick six. We saw an interception from him late in the game last week as well. Do you feel like Matthew is trying to do too much out there?
I think sometimes that is what happens. Quarterbacks try to press. This particular interception, pick six he threw, like he said, he probably shouldn't have thrown the ball because it was pressure immediately in his face, and he just threw the ball out there. So that was one I know he wanted to have back. But when you get a quarterback like a Matthew Stafford that has so much arm talent and know he could do a lot for the team, yeah, you have a tendency of wanting to do more than you have to do for the team. And I think that's becoming the case for Matthew. Hopefully he'll be able to sit back, and I'm talking about next week. He won't feel the pressure to have to press as much, and hopefully they'll be able to have more of a balanced game plan than they had this week.
Well, he does have a run game that he can rely on.
Yes.
We talked about that. Matthew mentioned it as well. He was very complimentary of his run game. The Lions played well in the run game at different parts of this game, particularly in that first quarter with that touchdown drive that ended up in a Kerryon Johnson touchdown. He played well on that drive, and it capped off in a touchdown by him, and that is our play of the game today, this Kerryon Johnson touchdown. Lomas, what did you see from this Kerryon touchdown?
Well, first of all, it starts with the surge of the big guys up front. They got a great surge. They changed the line of scrimmage, and as you see, it was really it was a hole right there for Kerryon to run through. It was a nice job by Odea Bushi pulling around.
Filling in for Joe Dahl?
Yep, just doing enough to get in front of the guy. And, of course, Jason Kobinda, he did a nice job of leading up in there. And I don't know who those invisible fans were that Kerryon was giving high fives to, but he gave about 4 or 5 fans a high five up in there.
I think that was my favorite part of this game was Kerryon Johnson's fake Lambo leap into empty stands, giving invisible people high fives, having a good time out there. Obviously, the game did not continue with that same energy, but it was fun to see that moment. I like that you point out Jason Kobinda as well. He is a linebacker that has switched over to play fullback for the Lions, and he's been key in these last couple games.
He really has been, and just reading about him, man, a team guy, a guy that's been that way ever since high school. He converted over from he was a running back in high school, converted to linebacker. Now he's a fullback for us. I just love anytime you got a fullback, Tori, those guys are faceless guys. They don't get all the glory that the running backs do, but they're just as important as those running backs.
All right, with that, let's look ahead to the Lions' next opponent next next week. They match up on the road with the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are playing against Washington football team right now. They are up 17-0 against them in their week 2 game before the Lions head there in week 3. That game will kick off at 4:25 p.m. So pre-game show, post-game show, all of that will be a little bit different around here. Make sure you tune into your local listing to see what channel that will be on for you. It will be on your local Fox channel if you're here in the Lions regional area. But certainly the Lions have a challenge ahead of them in a very high-powered offense from Kyler Murray and company. And, oh, by the way, they've got a guy named DeAndre Hopkins that's catching the ball from Kyler now.
Oh, my goodness. What a guy, too, man. I mean, you're right. And then they got Kenyon Drake at running back, who's not a bad running back. So they kind of got the three-headed monster that we're going to have to contend with on the offensive side of the ball. And don't forget, Arizona, they got Chandler Jones, defensive end. They just drafted Isaiah Simmons from Clemson that can do everything. So they got a pretty good defense, too. So it's going to be a challenge. Each and every week in the NFL, it's a challenge. And going out to Arizona is going to be a challenge for the Lions next week.
All right, if you had to pick one thing the Lions need to correct before they head to Arizona in order to win that game, what would it be?
It would be us versus the run. And, Tori, we've been saying, now I'm not going to even say getting pressure on the quarterback. I'm going to say if we could stop the run, if there's one thing we could do, if we could stop the run and make the offenses one-dimensional, then I think that would help the defense out greatly. But we got to figure out one thing to stop on the opposing offense.
All right, Lomas, thank you so much for hanging out with us here on the post-game show. Hopefully we have a little bit of a brighter game to talk about next week when the Lions head to Arizona. We appreciate you guys tuning in to the Detroit Lions post-game show. Make sure you join us next week for our pre-game show and post-game show after the Lions take on the Cardinals in week 3. We'll see you then.